Welcome back, everybody, to the North Central Washington MVP series brought to you by Career Connect Washington and the Apple STEM Network. I'm your host, Carrie Horning, Career Connected Learning Specialist with the NCESD 171. So I believe this is our seventh season in the fourth year. It's really kind of hard for me to believe, but I certainly want to thank all of you. The content is mainly being consumed post-event once the recording has been uploaded and shared out. So again, thank you for joining us as you're able. I have to say, I did not see this coming, that this would, continue for so long. So forgive me for being on repeat. If you're a frequent flyer here, my wardrobe has definitely been on repeat for a while. So I keep saying that I'm going to threaten to, expense a wardrobe to the NCSD, but I think maybe that probably won't fly. So anyways, today I have the pleasure of speaking with Charlotte Flanagan from Group 14. Charlotte, welcome in.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. I'm super excited about this. So before we get started, let me take care of a couple housekeeping items and then we'll get rolling on this. So I'd like to remind everybody today, our goal is simple. It's to introduce our community partners throughout North Central Washington to one another, be it industry, nonprofit, educators, or community members with an interest for what's happening around them. And a win today looks like each of you leaving with a greater understanding of the work that's being done all around North Central Washington. So grab your lunch, sit back, and get ready for an extra dose of professional nourishment. I'll do a quick introduction of Charlotte and then we'll get rolling straight away here. So Charlotte spent time both in Cali and Idaho. She's a Husky alum and an avid athlete. She actually just competed in the Tri-Cities Half Ironman this last weekend, so congratulations on that. Work has connected us, but I'm just going to say a love of McConnell's ice cream, at least for me, bonded us. I mean, scratch-made ice cream that's been perfected over 70 years. Come on. I mean, that's a no-brainer, right? So I think it's a tough call, Charlotte, but I'm going to have to go with the double peanut butter chip. What's your favorite?
Peppermint stick. It's my go-to. Since I was little, that was always my flavor.
Oh, I love it. I'm gonna have to try that next time I'm down there. So for those of you who maybe aren't in the Santa Barbara area or Southern Cal, Northern Cal area, if you're lucky, you can find it over in Seattle. Some of the, what was that market that I texted you about?
You're gonna ask me that. I don't
I
remember.
know. Not Gleason's, I can't remember, but anyways, maybe oh, not Whole Foods. Metropolitan Market might be there. So
Yeah.
and then there's one in Ballard too, but anyways. All right. So yeah, I mean, my family loves ice cream so much. We named one of our dogs Scoop when the girls were little. So that shows. So all right. So you ready to do this? Should we get going?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I personally have to start with the name. I absolutely love, Group 14. I'm like, what is that? What does that mean? So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. Pretty quick description in all honesty. Group 14 actually comes from the periodic table of elements. So the group 14 is known as the carbon family on the periodic table. So it includes carbon, silicon, germanium, tin, and lead. And that's how we got our name or what our company is kind of named after, which is kind of a fun fact. Another fun fact, my brother-in-law actually works for group 1. So not related to the periodic table, but kind of a funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, I love that. Well, I looked it up too. So I wanted tell me a little bit about Group 14, thinking I was going to get the corporation right away. And I did get the periodic chart. But when I read that it represented the carbon family, I have the thought, the thought in my mind was like, honestly, that fits really well because Group 14 has come so quickly into our region and our communities and partnered with all of us. So I love that family aspect. I mean, anybody who works with me knows that, that's just an important part to me. So I thought that was very fitting. I love it. So thanks for sharing that too. So, all right, so let's get into the meat and potatoes here. Tell us about Group 14 and a little bit about the product that you're going to be producing.
Yeah, so Group 14, we are a battery materials manufacturer. So we don't produce batteries. We actually produce a material that goes into the batteries. And our product is called SCC 55. The 55 number comes from our 55th attempt to get the material right. So that's how it
Awesome.
came
I
to
like
be. But it's a material that will replace graphite in lithium ion batteries to effectively make them lithium silicon batteries. And our product is really going to enable kind of the next generation of lithium silicon batteries. You get up to 50% more energy density, which is really the amount of energy that can be stored in a battery, which is super exciting. And then with that comes extreme fast charging. So think of an EV being able to be fully charged in like under 10 minutes,
Oh,
which is
nice.
game changing when you think about the time it takes to fill up your gas tank. Our technology kind of enables us getting there with charging an EV car.
Yeah.
But our material can be put into any lithium ion battery today. So that's the exciting part about our technology is it's a drop-in technology. So it doesn't require any changes to equipment or process for battery manufacturers, which is really exciting.
Wow, that's very exciting. And for any of our teachers that might be online or watching this afterwards, that I love that. That's a great, lesson for the students. 55, it's the 55th attempt. Do not give up. So I love that. Okay, so then that's a nice overview of the product. So how does that help contribute to the clean energy sector?
Yeah. So I mentioned it a little bit in terms of kind of getting on par with, if you think about transitioning away from using fossil fuels and things like our cars,
Mhm.
kind of puts it on par with the amount of time it takes. The other cool thing about our technology is you get increased range within a vehicle. So that those two things mixed together really does set up the EV industry in a better way to be able to make that transition from petroleum-based resources to renewable resources. But I actually think it's a game changer, mostly because of some of the stuff that we don't even know about yet.
Yeah,
And some of the innovations that will come from this type of technology that can be put into batteries. So,
yeah.
so
Yeah, that's a great, I love to hear that as well. And I say that a lot in these meetings with all of you because it's so interesting to me. But that's something that's also a nice catch for our students that listen, what you might be doing outside of the area or right here with Group 14 may not even exist today while you're still in high school, but in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, there's going to be something totally new that you might be working on. So I love that too. All right, so I can't move on until I ask this question because it's big news in the Central Basin. What does that $200 million or up to $200 million grant mean for Group 14?
yeah. So for those of you that may not know, we were just recently selected for a $200 million award negotiation. And what that means is we have to go into negotiations with the Department of Energy about the award and the grant. But basically, this is going to be used to install, commission, and operate a US-based silane factory using our Group 14 proprietary intellectual property, which produces silane at a significantly reduced capital and energy requirement from some conventional processes. And the largest global source of silane today is actually in China. So a big benefit is bringing that material into the US and making it a domestic raw material. And it's used in a variety of ways. It's not just used, by Group 14, it's used by a variety of companies across the battery supply chain.
Yeah. So
Uh,
is that then a product that you would use or Group 14 would use for themselves and then potentially sell to other companies?
yep, absolutely.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, congratulations. I know that's a big deal, so that's good. So I want to make sure a little bit more housekeeping as well. Anybody who's on with us live, if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand, tap in however you like. You could put it in chat. Definitely just a conversation here. I want to move on though, as we're in the question phase to I mentioned a little bit before, Group 14 came in so strong as how can we partner in this community? And of course, career connected learning, I love that. I couldn't do my job without everybody participating. I always make jokes that I bring a little bit more work to the table when I show up, which is maybe not necessarily a joke, maybe not necessarily funny, but it is the truth. So I can appreciate that. And I know you're very involved with the Columbia Basin Boys and Girls Club, and and myself with Career Connected Learning. So do you want to talk a little bit about what are the future plans for Group 14 in the community? What's that look like?
Yeah, yeah. We actually just had a great meeting this morning with one effort that we've put together, which is called our Project Advisory Council. Um, and that's really just an opportunity to bring a variety of members together from the city council, from the PUD, from the school district, from CB Tech, and the EDC. A variety of people are there. Big Bend Community College. Sarah joined us this morning. And it's really just a chance to have those conversations to understand what are some of the key issues that each one of those stakeholders within the community has, and what are some ways we can partner to really help with whatever's going on. And so first and foremost, I would say our biggest effort is to really be a consistent presence in the community and create some really deep relationships with a variety of stakeholders so that we better understand as we're creating some of these programs, be it internships or scholarships or training programs, that we really understand all the different areas of the community and kind of what are some of the issues they're facing, what's really high on their priority list that we can potentially support or partner with or brainstorm and come up with some different ways we can tackle it. And so we have the Project Advisory Council, and then Carrie, you're part of our Youth Advisory Council, which is really aimed to start to think about, all right, how do we get some of these great opportunities that we're bringing into Moses Lake? How do we get those in front of, and even more broader than kind of the ones that we have available, but like the clean energy industry in general? Like how do we get kids and young people thinking about that, and students thinking about that as a potential career opportunity a little bit earlier on? So we've done some things, obviously, with the Boys and Girls Club. We made a donation together with our partners earlier this summer to help keep them up and running through the rest of the school year. But we're also thinking about, all right, how can we participate in potential like mentorship programs, or what are some other things that you need from your industry partners that we could potentially tap into some of our talent that we have to come in and help out with other programs. We're also partnering with a variety of organizations just to start to think about, hey, what's a fun way that we can support all the educators and potentially say, hey, we've got this like cool lesson in a box about batteries that you can go into your classroom and teach your students. We have the presentation for you. We have a list of materials. It's a fun activity that gets kids thinking about batteries earlier on. And so there's just kind of different ways that we're trying to get creative about, just talking about the clean industry and talking about what this company that's coming into Grant County does a little bit earlier on. And then there's a variety of other things we do as well in terms of hosting. And this is more because we're not up and running in Moses Lake just yet, but we're hosting field trips over in the Seattle area for schools so they can come in and see and learn and hear more about, the clean energy industry and Group 14 specifically. And that's something we're really excited to be able to kind of continue and do once we're up and running and open in Moses Lake and Grant County.
Yeah, I can't wait for that myself, if I'm going to be honest. So yeah, with Career Connected Learning, for sure, I want to, extend my gratitude because you aren't up and running yet, but yet you're very involved with the work that we're all doing with the NCSD in our area, and again, the community. So that's terrific. I think, oftentimes when I'm hosting one of these, I do direct it, to our educators, to our students. And I think that's a really great opportunity for us to kind of transition and say, hey, to any of our educators that are listening to this interview, we're here kind of telling you about Group 14, what they're going to be doing, what that product is, and how to get the students involved. So if we kind of stay on that thread in terms of, we've discussed this, we're hoping to move into some internships eventually, obviously the tours and all those, the lighter lifts. But in terms of the Youth Action Council, if we were to dig a little bit deeper into that, what would that look like in terms of, our students? Right now it's the adults, we're kind of planning it out. But if you're a student who's maybe listening to this, or a teacher who has a student that they think might be interested, how can they get involved, or what might they look forward to in the future?
Yeah, we're definitely looking to get actually in front of students more often. So if there's opportunities for us to kind of come and visit classrooms and things like that, please definitely reach out. My team member that's in Moses Lake, Rochelle,
Mhm.
is really looking forward. We have kind of this little fun activity already put together. We actually have a couple different activities put together that we can help lead, or we can kind of help walk you through so you can lead it with your own students. Um, are we already have an internship program? I would say it's more kind of geared towards like the college students right now, but we're
Mhm.
looking to kind of bring that in again once we have places for people to sit and things like that, and the basics kind of
Yes.
ready for
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
We would love that. And then honestly, like if there's events or things that we can be a part of that you think would be valuable as you're thinking about career days, or if there's an opportunity to help with resume workshops, or like whatever kind of some of those bigger career development type programs are. We've got incredible employees that are in Moses Lake that want to help and that want to volunteer. And we have a really strong recruiting team here here locally. So they get out and in front of students on a really regular basis. So things like that, we just need to know what the opportunities are, and so we can kind of vet them and see what we can do and how we can partner.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. I mean, the team on the ground here is amazing. We've done career days, we've done resume days. You all showed up at our STEM summit in August and presented to the educators. I think you know exactly what you're talking about, that
Mhm.
kit, the hands-on kit. And then here, you know, in a couple weeks, I'm looking over at my big giant calendar. We were just talking about eyesight. As a reminder, October 17th is our College and Career Expo, but simultaneously we're running the Computer Science and Tech Fair, and Group 14's got a huge, you know, presence there. Lots of people coming in to participate and assist. So thank you for that. Yeah, we love that.
Sure.
So, you know, as we're on the student, you know, aspect of the interview, how did you come to work at Group 14? How did you learn about it?
Oh, good question. A recruiter actually reached out. I had never heard about Group 14. I've never worked in manufacturing. I've never um, thought of getting into the clean energy space. You know, it was very much a I'm incredibly passionate about the transition and thinking about how do we care for our planet. And so for me, you know, part of my job is also leading our some of the sustainability efforts, and I've led that at previous organizations as well. And so for me, that was the hook. That was the big thing that drew me in, that I wanted to continue conversations because of, I think, the innovation that this company is bringing to market. And so for anyone out there who kind of is like, I'm never going to work in the clean energy industry, like I have no idea what that is. Neither did I. So, you know, like I think one thing that's served me well across my career is curiosity and following that and kind of having that growth mindset that, you know, if you have a certain level of skills, you can learn things, and you can learn along the way, and you can come try out new things. And that for me has been huge. You know, I was in tech for a little bit. I worked at Alaska Airlines for over 10 years, which I loved. So airline industry, tech industry, manufacturing, three very different industries.
Right.
But I think kind of having those baseline skill sets and being able to kind of bring those and put them to use in a little bit of a different way at each company has been really cool.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a great story. You know, we always tell our students too that listen, just because it's Alaska Airlines or Group 14 or, you know, Lamb Weston, it doesn't matter. The jobs cross over into all industries. So if you're a computer, if you're accounting, or you're an attorney, you're sales, you know, human resources, those jobs exist in every genre of work. So we're really trying to introduce our students to that you don't necessarily have to dial it in just to one you know, one thing, because it goes across all, you know, when we're coming to work. And those soft skills that you talked about, those base skills, that's really the key. So thanks for sharing that. Okay, so on that note, then jobs, right? How does all of this translate into jobs, and what will some of those jobs look like right here in North Central Washington?
Yeah. So what's super cool is we're actually over 180 employees already just in Moses Lake alone. And so we've grown a lot. We've done a lot of hiring. We're kind of settling into that growth a little bit with as we open our first module. So we're building two modules right now. And we're really focused on getting that our first module up and running, with a second one coming along shortly after that. And then obviously with our 200 million grant for the silane facility, that's another additional, 300 plus construction jobs that will come in, and then another about 150 jobs to kind of ramp up, commission, and operate that facility. And so the jobs that we're creating are I would say a lot of jobs we're bringing in, right?
Yes.
But we also want them to be good jobs. We don't want to be creating jobs that we're going to see, a lot of high turnover. We want to make sure that we're offering really well-paying jobs. So they're higher in the salary range than the national average by far. We have incredible benefits that you get from working from Group 14, and just the overall culture that we have is, I would say, pretty special. Actually, one really cool thing that I heard from a partner we were working with is that, I've worked with a lot of kind of companies that are in your space, right? You're still a startup basically because of like, where you are in the business and the market and that kind of stuff. And not a lot of startups and companies of your size have a strong culture. But it was cool to kind of hear from an external perspective that we do have a strong culture, and just how we interact with one another and how we work together. And so I think that's a really special piece that we also bring in, that I think is really important, especially for students and for anyone looking for a company that you want to go to. It's not just about the pay, it's not just about the benefits, it's also about who you're going to be working with, and the type of company that you're working for. And so I think
I
we
agree.
we bring a
Yeah.
lot of that into play.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, that's what I said when I learned that Group 14 really kind of means this carbon family, and the word family really resonated for me, because I'm not part of Group 14, but I can feel it and sense it when I work with all of you. And I always talk about my work family, and that's important to me to have those connections. And you guys for sure are exemplary in that area. So on the outside looking in, we can feel it as well and sense it. So that's pretty cool. So I interrupted you though. So what will some of those other careers maybe specifically look like? Is there any insight into that yet?
Yeah, on the silane side, I don't have a ton of information on that. It's pretty early.
That's all right.
Uh, but on the what we call BAM, which is battery active materials, on our BAM2 side, we have actually a pretty big variety of roles that are right here in Moses Lake. We have everything from our people and culture team, which is traditionally called human resources. We call it people and culture. We have obviously our recruiters, and I have a team member over here that's supporting a lot of this work in terms of community outreach. We've got our obviously everything it takes to kind of run a business. We have our quality team that's out here, so really making sure that the quality of our product is up to standards. We have EH&S teams out here, environmental health and safety. We've got and then we've got kind of our bigger teams on the operational side, which are our process operators, like chemical process operators, manufacturing team. We've got maintenance.
Yeah.
We've got engineering team. So it is a pretty big variety of roles,
Yeah.
which is I think really cool, because we reach a wider variety of students in terms of what they're looking for right
Yeah.
here. That's
So if
local.
a student's graduating this spring and they're not quite sure what they want to do, not maybe ready to commit to college, if they came into work and kind of found their space, what would be some of the opportunities for moving up in the company, or for I guess improving their skill set? Are there benefits there that the new employees could roll into?
Yeah, absolutely. We're actually building out. We have a training manager that's here that's actually building out a lot of like some of what does that internal learning look like when you come into Group 14. We have a ton of training that any employee that joins has to go through, especially from a safety side. Safety is one of our values. It's also one of our what we call our how we work principles. Uh, we have safety moments that usually start every single meeting. And so safety training is a big part of that when you come into Group 14. And then we also have a number of other different training opportunities. I would say it's definitely more role-based, right? Like we want to make sure that we're offering some training that's relevant to students or to employees' roles as they come in, and how do we kind of support your career and your growth within your role. But we're also so new that we're building that out too. So I think that there's going to be more to come in that space. Um, but we're doing a lot. We're doing a lot already in terms of where we are. I was actually surprised how much we do when I joined.
Well, good. Well, we spent a lot of time kind of talking from the student or the teacher perspective. Let's bounce back. We've only got about 5 minutes left. I told you it goes very quickly, this 30 minutes. So I want to make sure again that anybody who's joined us, if they want to ask a question, you can jump right in, you can put it in chat, raise your hand. But in the meantime, while we're doing that, so I want to, we've kind of brushed on this as well about the future. We may not even know what's coming, but I'm going to ask. So looking ahead, what role does Group 14 see itself playing in the future of clean energy, and what advancements that you know of are you most excited about?
Yeah. One of the one of the most interesting ones that that our CEO sometimes kind of drops randomly in conversations, which I'm always like, what is like this idea of like autonomous self-driving drones, right? Like being able to go out, get in a drone and like head to the airport.
Oh man, don't say that too loud in front
And
of
I
my husband. He'll
can't
be
like I
kicking me
can't
nuts
wrap
for
my
that.
right. I can't wrap my head around it. But that's the kind of innovations that I think are really cool to just even like think about, right? Like I think there's a lot of things that we don't even know how our technology is going to be applied. And I think that's
Exactly.
what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
Personally for me, like I would love the ability to charge my car really, really fast. And we're a 2 EV family right now. That just happened, and so the charge anxiety is real, and so I'm excited for to be able to drive a car with our material in it, honestly,
Yeah.
and be able to kind of charge super fast
Yeah.
um, and
That,
so
can I interrupt for a second? That's a great point. So all of us here in Eastern Washington, I mean, listen, I jump over to the west side all the time. I'm downtown Seattle in 2.25 if all goes well. But here's my thing. Can you make it here and back, depending on traffic, construction, the bridge work, with one charge or,
which car I'm allowed to take, right?
okay.
I drive my car. The answer is no.
Okay. All right.
I'm probably going to become very good friends with the workers at the pilot facility in Ellensburg pretty soon.
Nice.
No, but our other EV can probably just make it.
Just make it. Okay. All right. All
Yeah.
right. Well, that's good to know because I think, obviously I'm sure they're much more popular on, on the west side of the mountains than here so far, just because of our distances. I mean, I could put, 20, 30 miles, 1,000 miles on my car easily in a year. And I can't even fathom that yet because I'm too impatient to pull over. So I can't wait for your technology to come out. I'll be the
Yeah,
first one in line.
the ranges for EVs are increasing so fast, and I think that that's really, I think the other benefit, right, is you get that extended range, but you also get that quick charging. So
Yeah, that's terrific. Awesome. Okay, we're down to just 2 minutes. Are there any questions from anybody who is here with us live? Or statements? No? Okay. All right. Well, two things. I want to wrap it up. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. This will be kind of packaged up nicely and distributed. It'll be on our YouTube channel. I'll post it on all of our social media, but I really want to thank you, Charlotte. I know, we've been working together a little bit here and there for the last year or so. I am like a squirrel. I very easily can get off track, the whole ice cream thing, the sneakers, the Iron Man, whatever. But I really enjoy working with you and the team, and we're grateful for everything that you do. So thank you for joining me today. On this first session of the MVP.
awesome. No, thank you so much for having me. This is super fun.
Yeah, good, good. I know I don't have to twist arms too hard. I always say it goes quickly and it is kind of fun. So all right. Well, everybody who was here live, thank you so much for joining us. Tammy, thanks for the note. We appreciate your input. And yeah, we'll see you next week for our next MVP. Thanks, Charlotte.
Great, thanks.